Gonna invite Nicky over. Okay. What's this? That's directing me all to these things. Okay, got it. Got it. Done. Okay. Oh, it's such a nice day in Turkey, in Izmir. Spring is so beautiful here. It is so beautiful to see the almond trees blooming and everything. Nikki, I sent you an invite. I sent you a request. Huh. Okay, she's got go live with Nikki. My camera could be a bit straighter. Oh, Nikki, it says you're unable to join. Okay, accept. Go live with Nikki. There she is.
Yeah,
Hey, welcome.
thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. I couldn't see your invite, so
Yeah, sometimes there's a delay.
yeah, but we managed.
Ah,
Good morning.
yeah. How's it? How's it over in where are you again in Holland?
Alkmaar, which is about uh,
All
40 minutes drive from
Alkmaar.
Amsterdam towards the coast, a bit north
Okay.
west.
Yeah. Are you seeing signs of spring? Are there trees blooming?
Yes, and we had a crazy couple of weeks because we had snow in April, like Prince was singing many years ago, a couple of times. So yeah, and then the next day it was really warm, and then we had snow. It's crazy.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a bit distracted by some text and I can't see your face. It's like right across your face.
Ah,
Uh, okay, now it's a bit better, but it's kind of like anyway.
okay.
Um, okay, so you're starting to feel we're in Turkey. It's so beautiful. The almond trees are blooming and the lemon trees are starting to give their flowers. Like it's really a nice time. It's really a nice time here. Yeah. Yeah. In Canada, where we were at, it was like winter stopped, and then a few weeks later, summer would begin, and there would be no proper spring, like maybe just a few days. So it's really nice to connect with spring.
Which,
Nikki, did you get any questions from people about about today's session?
no, not urgent questions. No, no.
Okay.
So
Okay. I didn't get
people
anything
don't want to
either.
know, I guess.
Um, yeah. Yeah. Well, let's then stick to the topic that we were thinking of talking about. I wanted to ask you, Nikki. Well, I'm just wondering if we should introduce ourselves. Yeah, let's do that. Let's introduce ourselves. Or I'll introduce Nikki. Nikki is a house healer and geomancer, and she is an expert in tuning into the energies of your home to create balance, healing, harmony, a kind of energy detective for your home. And she's got an online course. You also help people to craft and create their own personal power place, which I love the sound of that. I just thought it was helpful to give you a bit of an introduction for people who may be tuning in that don't know you. And your company name is Happy Holon, and you provide consultations to individuals, families, couples, I'm sure, right? On how to work with the energetics of your home. Um, and perhaps align things that may be going wrong uh,
Yeah.
for you, correct? Yeah.
I love the word energy detective. I wrote it down.
I feel like yeah, I think you can work with that. I think
Yeah.
you could write a whole book about that. Yeah. 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 It is really like detective work, isn't it, Nikki? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I should, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When I'm working with people, I'm always looking for the issue. Um, I guess when you are working with people, you are looking for the wish, the longing. What do they want to manifest? Which
Yeah.
is a totally different approach. It's a detective work as
Yeah.
well in a way, but I guess you don't look as much as the negatives as I do.
Perhaps, yeah. Absolutely. I definitely open the doors to what is possible, and we do that in partnership with the spirit of the land on people's properties. And yeah, what's new? What's of the future that wants to come forth that supports my client's soul's purpose? Um, and of course, as you know, I've mentioned before, I am now mentoring other women architects and designers
Yeah.
to help them to bridge spiritual wisdom with design. And I just find that work to be so empowering
Mhm.
on so many levels, on both ends. So we can start to anchor in this new paradigm, this new Earth's way of communing with the land and building properties with the land. That said, in the beginning stages, prior to laying out the conceptual design of people's properties, um, I do a bit of detective work in partnership with the land and the client and my clients to discover what may be off, right? What may be not aligned or in sync on the land. And of course, when things are not aligned, it's not like, and you're definitely an advocate of this, like that the point is not to make everything all like, oh, happy, sparkly, and like everything's going to be perfect. Sometimes it's okay to have a certain part of the property a little bit eerie or a little bit this or perhaps draining of energy. There may be some nature spirits there that need that kind of energy to do some work. We don't know. We can't know everything, but to really mm, prepare the nest, you could say, for my clients, that really warm, comfortable nest, grounded nest for them to be able to pursue their life dreams, their goals, their soul's purpose, and give birth to an architecture that really supports it. So I would say it would be, the ideal is if someone has an existing home with some issues on their property. They want to do a renovation and addition to it and perhaps some other new projects. They call you in first to do the work with the existing land, the existing house energetics. So we have a nice sparkling, groundwork for me to come in and design a new property, right? A new property plan. So, yeah.
Otherwise, you will continue the same problems in the new design.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, without going into too much detail, you know, you really got to, there's some clients of mine that are going into some similar, like some patterns that they
Mhm.
recognized in the beginning, and it really does take full conscious responsibility on the part of the client to do the work.
Yeah.
It's not just one magic wand recipe where you and I will come in and we'll fix everything. I'm sure Nikki, that you provide some instructions and guidance on how to maintain, do the energy maintenance work
Hmm.
throughout the years, or maybe within the next year or so, so that they're consistently keeping the energy of their house clear, and they're clear of the boundaries, and that it is a healthy, vibrant space to live in, so all can flow beautifully.
Hmm.
Abundance, project planning, whatever that may be. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's about, the whole stewardship thing we talked about. I think it was last episode we spoke about that. Taking
Yeah,
ownership and stewardship and responsibility for the place where you live or build.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why, cultures, we talked about this in some of the other episodes, where there's a maintenance culturally ingrained within the traditions of cultures of this energy clearing. I mean, the simplest example is the church bell, or even the call to prayer in the Muslim world. The sound healing that occurs. Um, I mean, we could get into the frequencies, right? Like what kind of bell is used, and
Yeah.
then what if it's a voice. I mean, I was so disappointed to hear that a lot of the calls to prayer now are recorded.
Yeah.
They're recordings,
Yeah.
and I just was like, oh. And I mean, okay. Anyway, it just might be that not everyone, not all mosques can, perhaps hire the people to do the call to prayer 5 times a day. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But to make a long story short, the um, the energy maintenance work was ingrained in the cultures and still is. I loved your story about the that village of where they're doing turns or circles or walks around the edge of the village. Or the maypole, right? In the spring, that's a festival. And even within the festivals, these yearly cyclical festivals, there's a cleansing going on. And we, I feel, must learn to bring the spirit of the festivals, the spirit of the celebrations, the spirit of those rituals and ceremonies back into our lives in a contemporary way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And often we do that already, but when you throw a housewarming party, which is a kind of a cleansing ritual in a way. So we
Yeah.
do that. It's just, we need to find maybe more or different shapes to do such kinds of rituals or festivals,
Yeah.
that suits us instead of, something that was a couple of hundred years ago that suited the people then. We want to
Exactly.
take it back
Yeah.
into, the modern ages.
Yeah. And I feel that with that, absolutely, this modern age, contemporary, but bringing now the new consciousness, weaving it back, I'm saying back, but it's the new,
Yeah.
the new consciousness into that the spirit of those events, and linking it, to me, one of the main keys is linking that back to nature, whatever that looks like, whatever that looks like for you, but really, maybe now a simple conscious planning would be for that housewarming party. Maybe I'll align it with the full moon, or, maybe I'll choose a certain day in the spring. Maybe it will be Easter, right? Maybe I'll align it with Easter, even though Easter, of course, is more related to a religion, but it's still deeply connected to the early beginnings of spring, right? In the Turkish culture, we have Nardugan, which is the winter solstice. And then we've got, there's a special full moon in the springtime where there's a spring festival. And yeah, so there's all kinds of uh, spaces in time that you can align those festivals with, or the events
Yeah.
that you create. in your home. Yeah, actually, we're going to do that on our property. We're building our house, as you know. We've got some tiny houses there, and I want to gather our community, our friends around a fire soon, and I look forward to choosing the day and aligning that, and maybe do some kind of a fun ceremony with children, to celebrate spring. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? And let's have a party.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Nikki, I wanted to talk to you about and ask you about the four elements or more. There may be more in the way that you work. There is a fifth element that I work with. I wanted to talk to you about these four elements: water, air, earth, fire, perhaps ether, perhaps akasha. I know in the feng shui traditions there's metal, there's wood. Um, just linking these, this key of nature and the elements, and how are the elements important? Like, do you work with the elements first of all, and do you feel that it's important to have a consciousness of them when you're working with the energetics of people's homes?
It certainly comes in handy. Yeah. So you should have an awareness of what the energies feel like and what they do to you in your body. That's the first, because that's the only way you notice and you can know through your senses what kind of energy you are dealing. So yeah, you should practice this, making a distinct to distinguish those certain kind of ethers. Because when we talk about elements, the word ether is coming in one breath with it. So maybe we should ask ourselves first, what is ether? What is ether? What is it? And I have a definition. Ether is that substance that connects spirit to um, matter. And in geomancy, you often work with a three-world model. We talk about heaven, earth, and the in-between. And the in-between is what I call ether. It is the world of possibilities. So before it's manifested into matter, and before it is just up in spirit, there is a certain in-between. And you can, if you want to have an image with that, take a glass of water. There is the air on top of the water, and you have the water, and you have a straw. And what is in the straw is the ether. It is what permeates between those two before it manifests. In the Tao, they would say the one makes the two makes the three, and the three is the beginning of the 1,000 things. If you translate it into geometry, because after numbers we get geometry. So that's how I define ether. Ether is the stuff that binds spirit with matter. And then we have roughly two widely known systems. You already mentioned that, the 5 elements of the East and the 4 elements of the West. And although those two have 3 elements that are called the same, they are not the same things. In the 5 elements, you could say it is more a process. And in the 4 elements, the ether is more like a static kind of status. So that is really important to remember, because it is nothing but an explanatory system to understand the world around us. And there are many more of those systems we can talk about And the planets, which is a system, the yin yang is also a system. So I will always advocate don't be a victim of the system, but use the system to understand, because every place, every person, every event, every whatever always has all of the elements of all kinds of energies. So it's just what is triggered within you, what is your specialty, what is connected to you, and what system could you use to explain and start to align. So that's maybe already enough to have questions. I don't know if there are people with questions.
Yeah,
For
if there
you,
are
any
any
questions?
questions, yes. Yeah, we invite you, whoever has joined, thanks for joining. Please add your comments or questions as Nikki speaks about the elements, about ether. Is this landing for you? Can you bring up any examples in your life right now that you're experiencing the elements around you? Do you work with the elements in your daily practice or not? Are you aware of them? Yeah. Um, yeah, I love that. I love the straw image between the air of what's above the water and what is in the water, and the straw within the straw is the ether. Um, Absolutely, and it's a very malleable space, that etheric ether space. I refer to it more as akasha. A lot of information is stored there. It's not, one could argue that there is a distinction between the ether and the akasha, but I work with the fifth element as akasha, and there is a lot of information, past, present, future, stored within this medium, and all the blueprints that are designed by the angelic realms, the spirit, the spirit, high spirit, ascended masters, whatever you want to call them, or, uh, they are, that first must pass through the ether, must pass through the Akashic realm before it gets birthed into matter, into form. And it's an extremely creative, malleable space. And you can retrieve a lot of information from that space. Um, what came up for me also when you were speaking is we contain ourselves all the elements, and in the Ayurvedic tradition, I'm not an expert in it, but I know there are these types, right? People who have more of the fire, more of the air, more of the kapha and the I forget kapha. I forget what they are all. If anyone in the audience knows them, um, Pitta is one, I think, more fiery. So we also hold. I mean, I remember one of my astrologist friends told me I've got a lot of water and fire. Although I do feel the earth is has increased in me a lot. And there's this beautiful harmony and mix and proportions and ratios of the elements within us. And what I've noticed is with my clients and with myself, that there are periods in my life, or even just based on my character, where the environment around me feels really good when I've got a lot of earth in it, for example. Like, I'm very drawn to deserts. Earth, sand, dry, like very, very drawn to deserts, more and more so in this period of time in my life. Ask me, do I want to go to the jungle, to Costa Rica? I have no interest right now. None. No interest in the monsoons or the rain. Take me to the desert and I'm happy. So I'm really in that mode. And so when we bring that consciousness into our properties and our houses, I'm noticing I want this, in designing my own home, anchoring, solid, earth. I'm talking with someone who is an earth and clay expert. She is like the one who does the Tadalakt method also from Morocco. And she is the clay expert in Turkey. And so we're going to work together to do some fine clay finishes in my home. And that just in itself feels really good and grounding for me. And of course, you've got to mix some water in there to make the clay work. So water does speak through the clay as well. So just bringing that all to this consciousness of what if we were working with the elements more to craft our spaces and to heal our spaces? Like the simplest um, uh, detail you could bring into a garden, like a fountain, or or a water element like a bird bath, right? Just even that, right? What it does to bring life to your space, and perhaps there's something within you that really needs that water to heal.
And that takes an awareness of the different kinds of energies. But if you have an awareness of these different set of energies, then you could, with the mind, rationalize. Okay, I'm a fire person, so I need maybe a bit more water to balance it out. But instead, I would say, just sit and connect with you and yourself and your space, and an image will come up. And that image is always a symbol for, depending on your intention. But if your intention is, okay, I want to align more with the space, more, what do I need? Then a symbol will come up, and that symbol you can translate into whatever you want to position in your garden or in your house. And that is maybe even more creative than, using the mind and the rationality of it. Then it's like making a calculation or coming from the inside. You know what I mean? That's what I try to explain, is don't become a victim of the system. I'm such and such a person
Yeah.
because my horoscope is saying this, my nine star key is saying that.
Right.
And so I need this in my environment. I would say no. It's really nice to afterwards, look in all those systems, and then you will always find out you found exactly the thing you need by just tuning
Yeah.
into the energies instead of going through the knowledge.
Going by rule book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not a fountain, but you just need to put, I don't know, a cup of water in the corner somewhere. I don't know. And maybe, a little hedgehog will come at night, because you needed the fiery aspect of the hedgehog. I don't know. You never know. But trust that more than whatever knowledge you could gain through going with the mind and the rational through all the knowledge. Because there is so much written about elements or whatever kind of system. And so, yes, find out what these energies are, feel how they feel and what they do to you, and then forget everything. And then when you get into a journey or a meditation or the visualization, then you will know what you need or what your soul needs or what your family needs or your client needs. And don't do it the other way around. Don't go through the books or the internet and think static, like a manual. Okay, I feel like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that. And I think it can work, but you are at such a risk of making a mistake. And you think you're doing the right thing. You think you're doing what you need because, the book said so. But it might make you feel horrible. You have no idea why. And then you have to come back by connecting with source and yourself that's the main trick, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. It's so important, so critical for sure. And when you speak, I think of how important it is to be constantly in tapping into our intuition and the moment, the present moment, and relinquishing these rules, relinquishing what things should look like. I often, as an architect, someone who is designing sanctuary spaces, temple spaces, healing spaces, you have a lot of information about the sacred geometry, the golden ratio and this, and if you do this angle, you get that. And if, like there's all these rules about geometries and proportions and the lines and the shapes. And oh, and actually I didn't forget, you've got a question there. So let's take a look at those questions and we'll answer. Um, I feel so aligned with what you're saying, Nikki. In the future, in the new paradigm that we're moving into, we relinquish all of that, and there's so much more that's possible. Um, and maybe even more is not the right word, but it's this what wants to come forth, that is new, that supports you, and that supports your unique signature energy and supports your home, supports your property, and really tuning into it on an intuitive level, without being hung up on all of these systems and rules. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like I've noticed that I'm going sometimes backwards. I'm like, okay, I'm going into this thing without knowing, without having any experience, but source is telling me, no, it's fine. You just jump right into it, and creation will happen when you create the vessel. Yeah. Yeah. Um, there was a question about the water, the sea. You feel really connected to the sea. Was it Cloren? One of our regular participants. So nice to see
Yeah.
you.
Her
I
name
love the
is,
sea, and I always see my dream house by the water. What does that mean? I love the sea, and I always see my dream house by the water. What does that mean? Nikki, can you share?
yeah, well, I love the sea as well. Um, and I have a lot of, I'm a water sign, so um, maybe that's the connection. Maybe your soul longs for the sea, or maybe you need the what do you call that? The ions that are produced by the sea. Maybe you long for the salt water. I happen to know that Fenneke, is her name, from Kleur en Vorm. She doesn't live really close to the sea, so maybe you need to get out more, and get some sea air into you. I don't know. Is it salt water or is it
Anything is possible. I
sweet
mean, if
water?
you are, yeah,
It all depends. It's just really difficult, by one little sentence to make a diagnosis. There's always more elements at play than just that. But if
yeah,
you long for water, then listen to it, and book a weekend trip to the ocean and see what it does, and
yeah,
maybe bring some elements that remind you of that energy into your home. And
like a seashell, a
for
big,
example, or a
big
little bit of sand, or maybe a
listen to it.
seagull, picture of a seagull. It could represent the water, but it could also represent air. So whatever the symbol is for you, um, yeah, use that and invite that into your house. You can invite any energy into your home. And when I lived in Switzerland, I missed the sea a lot. And what I've even missed more what surprised me was the wind, because
what was it that you
the
missed the
wind,
most?
the wind.
Oh, the
There's
wind.
always
Okay,
wind
yeah,
here.
and I'm
And
just
where I lived, it was close to Basel. There's hardly any wind because Basel is between a couple of
Dorna.
mountains and there's hardly any wind. So when we drove back to the Netherlands to visit family, I went for a run, and it was, this fall weather with drizzly and wind and not really nice weather. But I went out for a run, and I was like, oh, I love this flat surroundings, nothing but agriculture, and it was raining, and there was a lot of wind, and I so missed that. It's just, yeah,
Wow.
I've been raised in the area here, so, and there wasn't any where I was living in Switzerland, and I think I said in one of the former episodes as well. It took me quite some time to befriend the new environment, because it was in a way
Right.
alien to me, those mountains and the river, and it's so different because here it is, everything is man-made. There's a lot of land made by humans. It's all flat.
Built up on the
It's,
water.
yeah,
On the water, actually. The water
yeah,
is below you.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I really missed for a while. And that's when we moved back, we decided we wanted to move closer to the ocean. So I can go on my bike. It's a 10-kilometer bicycle ride to the sea, which is really nice.
Yeah, yeah. And you do your swims as well, which is amazing. Yeah, it's so key. Any other questions from our audience? And if something else is streaming through, just in terms of the way I practice with my clients, the elements for me are directly related to the directions as well. I mean, the elements are so much more. They really do make up matter when they are passed through the ether. Um, the ether and the akasha hold all the elements. Um, but in terms of creating sacred space and containers to create to help my clients birth their dream sanctuaries, right? Birth the properties that are really going to nourish their souls, the new blueprints, right, for new projects, whether it's an addition or a garden design or a house design or a design for a whole eco village or community or a library, urban park space, doesn't matter where it is. The elements help me to create this balanced sacred container within the group dynamic of the project team. Um, and I weave in the the rituals and traditions that shamans or ancient indigenous communities or ancient cultures in Europe or the Middle East, wherever. I'm doing it intuitively. I don't look at the books. I really just do it through intuition. Um, this process of calling on the directions, creating an opening ceremony for our work, giving gratitude to the nature spirits, giving gratitude to Mother Earth, aligning with above and below, and really creating that energetic temple space, that sacred container. And what I do is I set the timing of it as well, the beginning, the middle, the end of it. And that forms the structure of my design process with my clients. And they are involved within it. They are involved. And so I take them through a sacred journey, a cyclical journey through the four directions. And it is a quest, a design quest, a sacred quest where they discover their soul's purpose, right? They are awakening their soul's purpose. They connect with the spirit of the land. They're listening to the land. And through that union, there's an alchemical process that occurs, and the visioning happens. They start to vision, they start to dream what their ideal property looks like. And I'm not the one necessarily holding the pencil all the time and drawing. It's a really beautiful thing that starts to happen. Like, oh my God, I never knew you could, like the people become surprised at what they themselves can create through this process for their own homes, their own gardens. And so me, I work, and many cultures work in different ways with this. I work with north as being the earth energy. North for me is an anchoring energy. And of course, north brings so many other energies in play. And so always being open to that, right? Like you always remind us, Nikki. And the east is air. A lot of the winged ones, the eagle, the vulture, the hawk energies will stream through often to provide guidance, and any other air energies, communication, humor, laughter. That's all air, right? Let's say more spiritual, light, airy ideas may stream through when we're connected to the east direction. Fire, south. Some cultures also work with fire as east, I think, but I work with fire as south, and the fire of the creative, the will. And I'm looking at the solar plexus here, right? The will, the fire, this is where we start to create with our clients, like my clients. And there's an impulse now to draw and to create something new. The fire element really supports us there. And then the water is the kind of the helping us to form. That's the west. And there's a dreamy, mysterious quality to it too, a magic that stirs during those periods of the quest. And I notice also too that sometimes the order of operations needs to change based on the client. And I'm noticing that recently. It's like, oh, okay, no, let's first get into some practical things about the land, and later the journeying can happen. And then, oh, but then we got to do something about the healing there. So there's a flexibility to that system. But for me, it's really helpful as an architect to have that that magical container set. It helps me to keep organized. It helps me to lead my clients in a way that goes step by step, because sometimes we need those step by steps to guide our clients through this work because it's so new to them, and that anchoring of a plan and a program is needed. So yeah, the directions are really important in my work, and I definitely connect them directly to the elements. So yeah.
How would you
How would you
I hear myself twice all of a sudden.
myself twice all of a sudden?
Yeah, what?
You hear me? Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I hear myself double. Really
I hear
annoying.
myself double. It's really annoying.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's I've had that before. It's annoying. Like an echo of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you, how would you
Anyway, I want
advise
to ask,
people
how would
to
you advise
connect
people
to the
to
quality
connect
of
to
the
the
elements?
quality
How
of
would
the
you
elements? How would
teach
you
them how to recognize?
teach them how to recognize?
Well, what is at the most fundamental thing to know, and not only to know, but to really feel deeply with your heart, is that the elements are living beings. They are not just static things. They are living, breathing, and they are here to help keep the balance. They are here to bring their magic. They are here to build worlds. And when you enter in with your imagination, and again with this child spirit, and imagine that you are connecting with the elements, the directions, as though they are, and not as though, but as they are real living beings. I even get shivers saying this because I feel such a deep connection to them, and they are my friends. And many spirit energies will come through as representatives of those energies. And each day, each week, each season, each year, it may be something different, or there may be a theme. It may be the same spirit guide coming in from the north to you. And then at that point, it's not important that it comes through the north, right? But those structures definitely help myself and my clients to have receive that guidance, and it also helps the energies. It also helps these living beings to receive specific instructions from us. Otherwise, sometimes if you're just standing there and not reaching out with specific instructions, they're like, well, what do they want?
Yeah.
We're here. They're benevolent.
Yeah.
Right? They're benevolent. And of course, we can get into the nature spirits. In a previous episode, we did touch on this, I think. You know, there are the air spirits, the water spirits, the fire spirits, the earth spirits, and they are all involved. They are the builders. They are the builders. And, you know, the devas and the landscape angels, they are all, and for some of you, this might be really new. I mean, Nicky and I and various people who are working already in geomancy speak about this so fluidly and easily, but yeah, the nature spirits, they get the instructions from the cosmos, from the blueprints in the Akashic realm, from the angelic beings, from the devas, and they build trees, they build rocks, they build the mineral, the animals are a bit different because of their group soul consciousness, but they're the builders. The nature spirits are the builders of our landscapes, of our world. Yeah, right? They're living, that we can speak with them. We can ask them for advice. We can ask them for support. They also need to be consulted, right? The energies of our properties, and they need acknowledgement and respect. And it's also a way of, you know, with the directions, acknowledging that we are part of a greater world and that we have neighbors. I mean, East meets West, the cultures that that come through from the East, the cultures that come through the West, the cultures that come from the North, the cultures that come from the South. And of course, it's all referenced, right? There's always a reference point, you know, but thinking about, our elders in the indigenous communities, how messages maybe would be carried, and they would carried from, the northwest harsh winds, let's say, and they would receive a message coming in from a certain direction, and that held some, a significance and importance, but they spoke with the wind directly. It's not just the wind. And that's just they didn't look up the textbook like, okay, well, the south means this, and right? No, this is they saw the directions and the elements as part of their community, as part of this great orchestra of life, this great theater of life, and that they are worthy of our respect. And that didn't sound right, worthy of our respect. That did not sound right. But you know what I mean? Like this, the living beings to acknowledge and to give love to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they will cooperate.
They will cooperate.
Yeah.
I once had an
Yeah.
experience where I
an
became the wind.
became the wind.
That was really, really
That was
a special moment. It was in a
really
training one.
in a
I hear myself twice, which is
I hear
really
myself
annoying.
twice, which is really annoying.
I know it's so hard to focus when
Yeah,
you hear yourself
I
twice.
don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
Well, I mean, we are wrapping up our time. We can also continue the conversation later, but I don't want to cut you off. So anything that you want to stream through, Nikki, in these last moments?
Well, I think we could.
I think we could.
I think it's. I would like to say that if you want to practice connecting with the energy, go outside in the landscape, see how these elements are manifested in the shape of the landscape. Earth is hills and mountains, obviously. Water is pretty obvious as well. Fire might be a bit more difficult. Fire is represented in the landscape as pointy mountains or even cities. And what do we mean? Air. That is flat plane. So if you have difficulty recognizing different kinds of ethers, find an environment with these landscapes and tune into the genius loci, and you will get a sense of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tip. Really observe the forms in the landscape and how the elements play. And you can even ask the landscape, right, to provide you with a vision, some information, some insights, and the landscape might show itself off a little bit more to you if it's interested. Sometimes some landscapes are a little bit more like, who are you, right? I'm kind of angry right now. I don't know if I want to share so much about, so really like people in many ways. Yeah, yeah. Well, Nikki, this is amazing. I do see some comments coming in, but we do need to wrap up today's session. So everyone who joined, thank you, and send us over some of your questions. Did you have any aha moments, takeaways? Can you relate to what we're talking about? Are you working on any projects, houses, properties, gardens that you need guidance on? Send us a message. Are you noticing any kind of strange energies that are making you uncomfortable in your home? Connect with Nikki about that for sure. She can help guide you she can guide you with her detective work, energetic detective work to help solve the problem, quite frankly. Yeah, yeah. And shine a light into your home, right? Into the energetics of your home. Before we close, I want to say also that I have opened the doors to my online course, The Sacred Blueprint. I opened the doors during my free online seminar or studio rather on Monday. So doors are open, and the early bird special is on. So check out the sacredblueprintonlinecourse.com. You'll see it in my bio, and it helps not only property owners but architects and designers to connect with the land and connect with your client's souls on a deeper level, so you birth the optimal blueprint for your property that attracts abundance, vitality, and joy, and really streamlines the design process, so avoiding is not the right word. You streamline it to the point where the design process flows. It flows and is aligned with your own energetic blueprint. So much magic happens when you follow this system that I've developed. It's a 9-week course, so everyone benefit from the early bird, plus there are a ton of bonuses you can benefit from. So check it out, check it out. Nikki, and do you have anything brewing right now that you'd like to share before we close?
And I'm always open for collaboration and work, and I do a lot of one-on-one at the moment. And just send me an email and we have a chance to discuss possibilities. And I think I'm going to shut up now. I don't know how the.
It's just too much. It's too much. Okay. Yeah, I know how that is. That's happened to me several times. Okay, Nikki, we'll see you more on messaging, and we will connect again soon, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.